Jadon Sancho rejoins Manchester United. Rejoins Borussia Dortmund. Started mean to go on, Fletch. Well done. Brilliant job there. Let's start that again, shall we? Jadon Sancho rejoins Borussia Dortmund from Manchester United. Eric Dier. Eric Dier, of all people, is on the verge of completing his move to Bayern Munich. Dragusin, if that's how you pronounce his name. I hope I'm pronouncing his name right. I'm having a right nightmare of a start to this live stream. Has chosen Tottenham Hotspur over Bayern Munich. What is going on? It's only the bloody transfer window. Let's get on with it. Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Welcome to another video. Haven't done these in a while. Haven't done a live stream in a while. Haven't done one of these transfer talks or all new news videos and live streams in a while. So I thought, why not bring it back? We are 11 days into the new year, which means obviously 11 days into the January transfer window. And things are beginning to go through the gears a little bit and are beginning to heat up in terms of transfers. Not a great deal of activity being done that's come to fruition or materialized other than one or two signings and deals here and there. But there is a lot that is happening behind the scenes. A lot that is happening seemingly in the rumors and whispers department. Jordan Hyman, hey dude, how you doing? Long time no see, my bro. Hope you are doing well. Nice to see that you're growing your channel, bro, and you're still doing your thing. Keep up the good work, my dude. Very, very good job you're doing there. But yes, the wheels are starting to turn. The gears are beginning to shift into overdrive. And I've still got a feeling there might be something big that is happening in this transfer window that may be about to blow. And obviously, we always say that when there is a international tournament at the end of the season, a big international tournament, whether it be the World Cup or the European Championships, particularly in England, we do tend to get the whole players that want to leave, players that want to obviously see if they can make it into their national sides by getting a move away to guarantee a place. So I still think there could be a fair few names to look out for as this transfer window continues. Lucky, hey dude, how are you doing? Nice of you to join us, bro. Hope you are well. But yeah, as some of you have obviously done, get involved in the group chat, and this get involved in the chat, get involved in everything that is going on right now. Obviously get involved in the conversation or any conversation that you guys want to obviously put forward. Would love to hear from you all and any stories that you want to talk about or any stories that I've got with me here to discuss. We're going to start with the big news story of the day, and it surrounds Jadon Sancho, of course. Thank you very much, my dude. Keep up the good work. Thank you very much, and I hope you are okay yourself, and I hope you're doing well, and I hope you've had a good start to the year as well, and I hope you're enjoying life and doing what you keep doing. So thank you for that, my bro. I really appreciate it. We're going to start with Jadon Sancho, the big story of the day. He has completed a loan move back to Borussia Dortmund. He will be rejoining Dortmund on an initial loan deal until the end of the season. Where that loan deal takes him from there is anybody's guess. And we all sort of knew this was coming because of obviously how Erik ten Hag has dealt with the Jadon Sancho situation since obviously it all blew up near the beginning of the season. Obviously, for those of you who've been living under a rock or don't know, Jadon Sancho was omitted from a Manchester United squad in their game against Arsenal. Rather than say it was part of an injury or part of a tactical thing, Erik ten Hag went public and he basically said that Sancho was unprofessional, Sancho was this, Sancho was that. And Sancho reacted publicly as well, saying that he was being made a scapegoat and that it simply was not true. Since then, Sancho has been banned from the first team squad. He's been told he can rejoin if he apologizes, but it seems that both those two parties, both Sancho and Erik ten Hag, have reached an impasse. Sancho will not back down. Neither will Ten Hag. It was always going to end in one way, and that was, of course, the way of Sancho or Ten Hag leaving the club. Free Sancho finally achieved its goal. I guess it did, and I guess Sancho was really, for the time being at least, Sancho, I think, has really mugged off Manchester United and mugged off Eric Ten Hag in particular, with the way that obviously both have acted in this situation, and with the way that obviously Sancho has been sat back at home playing PlayStation, playing the new FIFA game. I don't actually play FIFA, so the new EA Sports FIFA is what he's been playing for the past few weeks, whilst being on, what was it, like 300 grand a week, 250 grand a week, something along them lines, something ridiculous along them lines, just to play FIFA, just to sit there and play FIFA. That's it. That's all he's been doing for the past few weeks, and now he's got his move back to Dortmund, a place that obviously he knows, a place that he came from and made a bigger name for himself than what he already was as a teenager. Obviously made a big name for himself in Dortmund, knows the Bundesliga well, knows Dortmund very well. So it's a big deal for him, and it's obviously a great deal for him in particular. Now, the loan move is always going to be interesting because I'm not 100% sure. Is there an optional buy clause in there for Dortmund? I don't remember reading it, but I don't remember seeing it. I could have just overlooked it. I know, great quality content this. I don't remember seeing it, but I don't remember either. So returns to Dortmund on loan. No option to buy. So there's no option to buy, which is very interesting from Dortmund's part that there isn't. And it's very interesting from Sancho's part that they didn't try to or Manchester United, that they didn't try to implement one, because one way or another, either Sancho stays but Ten Hag leaves, or Ten Hag stays and Sancho leaves. That bridge seems to be completely burnt for one of these two, in the way that obviously these are not going to be able to coexist at Manchester United going forward. Sancho is going to stay at Manchester United if Ten Hag leaves, in my opinion. Alternatively, if Sancho does decide to leave, then Ten Hag may stay. It's going to be very interesting to see how those two things can coexist. But let's not forget as well, Sancho's 23 years of age. Sancho is still relatively young in terms of being a footballer. And he's been locked up all this time. He's probably, if he cares about football that much and he loves football that much, he's probably hungry. He's probably going to be showing a desire that he wants to go back to where obviously he made a name for himself and play the way that he did, that made him one of European football's most hottest properties on the market at that point, where every European team, every top European team was after him, was after his signature. That's what they want. That's what they were hoping for. Football Loons, hey dude, how you doing? Nice for you to join us. Hope you are well. Get involved in the chat, my friend. Hope you are doing great. And again, you're doing some great work, my friend. Keep it up. But he's 23 years of age. He's 23 years of age. He's still got a lot of football ahead of him. Now, the only way that Man United and Ten Hag, well, it's a lose-lose situation for Man United, really, because either he goes on to Dortmund and he absolutely kills it. He absolutely kills it at Dortmund, and he is creating chances and he's getting assists and he's getting goals. And what have Man United been crying out for the majority of this season? A creative, good goal-scoring output winger. And they had it all along in Jadon Sancho. But because the manager was stubborn enough to try and somewhat set a standard, but maybe set a too harsh a standard that Sancho didn't want to come back into the fold, he was omitted. And with that omission comes obviously a big sacrifice in what United had, was a goal-scoring, creative output of a winger that has probably done the same amount of work on the pitch as Anthony has done. And one of them, like I say, has been playing EA Sports. for the past several months, and one of them's actually been on the pitch. If he goes on and kills it at Dortmund, that reflects badly on Manchester United and particularly Erik ten Hag. Alternatively, if he flops at Dortmund, it might be a personal win for Erik ten Hag that maybe he was right to omit Sancho from the squad. But it's bad for Manchester United because Dortmund aren't going to pay the ridiculous amount of money that he is currently on, or maybe the ridiculous money that Manchester United will demand for the England winger when the summer transfer window comes around. So United will be left in a position where the manager was right to omit him from the squad, but they now have a player that they can't shift. Because they won't be able to get the money that they want for him. They won't be able to find a club that wants to cave into the wage demands of what Sancho will be on at that point. And if he's been happy to sit at home playing PlayStation for the past several months, doing nothing and earning the money that he has been, he'll continue, surely. He'll continue to sit there. If he's got nothing to offer, if no one's got anything to offer him, he'll gladly sit there and pick up a paycheck, it seems. And then you'll have another case of a football what-if story. What could have happened to Jadon Sancho if he hadn't gone to Manchester United and gone to someone else, like a Liverpool, like a Chelsea, or someone else that was obviously interested in him at the time where his level of interest was at such a height, such a peak, that he could have chose anyone and anyone to go in European football. I'm very intrigued with this story. I'm very interested to know what you guys think on this because, like I say, there's so many what ifs to this story. I think obviously it's good for Sancho that you can finally get out of that toxic kind of place where obviously he wasn't able to flourish. And the obvious hope for him is that he can go on and rediscover the form that made him such a great player, and obviously such a well-regarded and well-thought-of player to obviously be a most wanted type of signing at the time that he was leaving Dortmund. The hope there is that he'll be able to rediscover that kind of form. The hope for Manchester United should be is that if you want to keep Erik ten Hag, then let Sancho go on and flourish. Let Ten Hag take the hit on maybe he was wrong for Sancho, but go on and get secure yourself a pretty good transfer fee for him in the summer. Alternatively, if you want Sancho to stay, have him flop at Dortmund and then get Ten Hag out and see if a new manager can maybe unlock him. You know that famous phrase, unlock, that Man United fans use so much for the likes of like Paul Pogba. Remember, like every player that they brought in after Paul Pogba was set to unlock Paul Pogba himself. You know, that kind of thing. I'm obviously being a bit banterous and a bit jabby there. But I'm just saying, like, it's a very interesting and unique situation. And it really does depend on if the bridge can be rebuilt between Sancho and Ten Hag, or whether it's completely dead that those two cannot coexist at the same football club. If Sancho goes on to kill it at Dortmund, you may have a case on your hands there where he's gone. But at the same time, in saying that, there is no buy option, which I think is very different and unique because the advantage then isn't to Dortmund. If you take the Timo Werner transfer, for example, Timo Werner goes to Tottenham on loan and he absolutely kills it. There is a buy option there for Tottenham to take him for something in the region of £14 million. If he goes and kills it, that may be seen as a bit of a bargain. That then means that the advantage is in Tottenham's court because if he kills it, they can get him on a relatively bargain type deal. If he flops, they don't have to activate that clause. So it's very interesting that Dortmund have decided to negotiate this without a buy option, and United have agreed to this particular deal with obviously no buy option involved. And the prospect of Sancho either sinking or floating at Dortmund. So it's very interesting to see that. Do you rate Erik ten Hag? I think there is something to him. I rated him when he was with Ajax. I rated his first season at United, as much as obviously it pained me as a Liverpool fan to see them doing pretty well and performing above expectation, that to the fact that nobody predicted them to get to 2 domestic cup finals and nobody predicted them to finish within the top 4. So I do rate him there. And I think even when you look at this season, to say that they're not playing the style of football that Ten Hag naturally likes to play or wants to play, to say that he's got all of these issues going around him, you can still see that from time to time, United do have something about them. You see in the performance against like Chelsea, the second half against Aston Villa, few moments here and there in other games, you can see that there is something with this team. There is a bit of steel with this team, but it's not consistent enough. It's not ruthless enough, and it's not strong enough. There is something to him that I rate. I just don't think that at a club like Man United, he is your manager. He is your guy. And especially if he's not being allowed to play the style of football that he wants, there's no point having him there. And there's no point him staying there. There's no point him staying there if he's not being allowed to play the football that he wants. Let him go. He'll probably go back to Ajax. He'll probably rebuild his management career there. And then who knows, maybe a few years down the line, he's still relatively young for a manager. So maybe a few years down the line, he might try again in England, but maybe he'll have a step down at a club. Maybe he'll go to a lesser club, like, I don't know, say a Brighton, or maybe not necessarily a Brighton, but you know what I mean? Like a middle of the road kind of club. Maybe a Spurs later on down the line, something along them lines. If he does rebuild his sort of management career from there. I do think there is something with him. I'm just not. I just think he maybe we're seeing that he was a bit overrated when he came in from Ajax, and that's not to say overrated doesn't mean you're good. I think Ruben Diaz is overrated. That doesn't mean I don't think he's a good defender. I just think he's overrated by Manchester City fans who go on about him, put him in the same bracket of like a Maldini, for example, or a prime Rio Ferdinand or something, or a prime Nemanja Vidic. He's not in that bracket, but he is a good defender. If that helps you make sense. I'd love to know what you think about it. I'd love to know what you guys think on Erik ten Hag too, whether he is the right man to take United forward. And who do you think wins in this sort of Erik ten Hag versus Jadon Sancho situation? Does Sancho come back at the end of the season into the Manchester United fold, or does he go on to join Dortmund permanently, or is there somebody else that's going to be waiting in the wings to maybe pounce on a permanent signing of Jadon Sancho? Let me know what you guys think, because like I say, it's a very intriguing story. The fact that there's no buy option means that the advantage is wiped out from Dortmund completely. If he does well there, Dortmund don't really have any good leverage over Manchester United in this situation. If he does poorly, it doesn't reflect well on Manchester United, and it probably doesn't reflect well on Manchester United to find maybe a permanent buyer for him should they stick with Erik ten Hag for the future. So it is a very interesting and very delicate situation that I think is really developing at Manchester United right now, and one that I'm very interested to get your guys' takes on, and one that I'm very interested to know what you guys think and feel on that particular matter. So we shall see. We shall see. Also coming out of Manchester United, stuff about Anthony Martial over the past few days. I know that Ballum, a friend of the channel, regular viewer of the channel as well, he put a comment in a previous video that I did, I can't remember which one it was, about Anthony Martial and about how interesting that situation has become. And I 100% agree. The Anthony Martial stuff is interesting. I think his contract is up at the end of the season. I think there was talk from Manchester United that they were looking at different avenues to go down with certain players, and Anthony Martial was certainly one of them. And they were seemingly exploring a way to maybe extend his stay at Old Trafford going forward. For me, he's dead and buried. He is dead and buried as far as what Manchester United should be concerned with. I'm not saying he's not a terrible footballer. I'm not saying he's a bad player. And as we know and as we've seen on his day, he can be very good to watch. I think, again, he's another one of them players that was brought in young, overrated highly, had a lot of potential, though, which you could see right from the get-go. But again, as time has progressed and as we've seen him develop into this unreliable, injury-prone, just overall just unreliable player in both aspects of being available from injury and being consistent on the football pitch. I'm very intrigued again to know what you guys think and feel on the Anthony Martial stuff. But for me, I say if you're Manchester United, you try and cash in on him now whilst you have the opportunity to do so before, of course, his contract ends at the end of the season. Give up on trying to renegotiate his deal and just take what you can get. Martial wants to obviously get into a team regularly before the European Championships at the end of the season. As we said at the top of the video, certain players are going to look at those European Championships as a sort of goal to work towards. So expect quite a bit of movement from some players that are looking to break into their national teams and maybe see it as sort of a last-ditch attempt to do that by making a move away and maybe securing themselves some more first-team football. Martial seemingly is one of those guys. Whether or not he decides to stay at Manchester United, and maybe the pull of playing for Manchester United still might be a factor for Didier Deschamps to obviously put him into the squad at the end of the season. Obviously, only time will tell. But it will be interesting to see what he does and what the avenue is that Man United go down when it comes to Anthony Martial, who has 6 months left on his current deal at Old Trafford. Ten Hag is the right man to take United backwards. Interesting take there. I know it. I know it seems like you've regressed this season, and obviously the league position doesn't lie. You've gone from being a top 4 club to now being within the top 6, top 7, and you're faltering and you're inconsistent, and it's weird and it's awkward, and you've got all of these outside interferences going on and everything. And of course, with the new ownership as well, that's going to be an interesting element to add to this entire very delicate, but yet very, at the same time, somewhat explosive story in regards to Erik ten Hag and Manchester United. So it is going to be very interesting to see how United progress under the new ownership and everything. You'll never walk alone. Yeah, my guy, love it. Brilliant win last night for Liverpool. Absolutely loved I didn't love every second of it, but I loved every second of the final 20 minutes or so. Absolutely brilliant to watch at times, and very enjoyable and exciting to say the least. But no, in regards to this whole Manchester United story of Erik ten Hag, they've gone backwards this season. There's no doubt about it, but somehow they're still within the top 6, top 7, and are still several points off of a top 5, top 4 spot, which is bizarre when you think about it, and bizarre when you consider the amount of issues at Manchester United and the way that people talk about them. Like, there is an extremely huge black cloud over the club, and there is to an extent, but on the pitch and performance, well, I wouldn't say performance, but results-wise, they're okay. They're somewhat okay, and they're still there or thereabouts. I don't think they will be come the end of the season, but it's going to be very interesting. And they've got a massive game on Sunday as well that I'm very much looking forward to against Tottenham. Tottenham versus Manchester United at Old Trafford for your Sunday afternoon viewing. I've already done a prediction on my predictions video, so do go back and check it out if you haven't already. But yeah, I'm very interested in that particular game. Very interested to see from afar how Manchester United react to all of this stuff that's going on. And yeah, the Anthony Martial stuff added on top of the Jadon Sancho situation. At least they can put the Sancho situation to the side for now. At least they can put that kind of situation to the side and sort of come back to it at a later date kind of thing. They obviously, I'm sure a lot of United fans in particular will be casting one eye on Sancho and seeing how he does over with Dortmund. So it's going to be very interesting to see on all fronts how they get on with the situations at hand in play at Manchester United and certain situations beyond Manchester United. Thoughts on Eric Diabolical? Well, we're going to come on to that next because we're talking about Eric Dier on the verge, it seems, of joining Bayern Munich. It seems that the final tying up of the loose ends are being conducted by both Bayern Munich and Tottenham to seal this deal. And Eric Dier seems to be on the verge of becoming a Bayern Munich player. Those are some of the words and sentences that I never in a million years thought I would say. I never thought I'd say Eric Dier would be a Bayern Munich player. Never. What are they smoking over there at the Allianz? What are they smoking over there at the Allianz Stadium for them to land on Eric Dier? They did get the right player. This isn't like some sort of a huge error or typo in like an email or something. They didn't want like, say, somebody else. Like they didn't want another player at Spurs and they just got the wrong guy or the wrong name. They didn't think it was like, I don't know. They didn't want like Mickey van der Ven or something, did they? And they just typed in the wrong name or something. I don't know why you would go with Eric Dier. Eric Dier seems to be very close to making the permanent move from Tottenham to Bayern Munich. Now, if you're Tottenham, you cannot believe your luck. Christmas has come again early. Again. Well, you know, from a month ago. Christmas has come early. You've got rid of a deadwood player that you needed to have got rid of years ago, in my opinion, who is not good enough for your club. And you've managed to get rid of him to one of the biggest clubs in the world. Now, if you're Eric Dier as well, you're loving this. You're loving the fact that you're going to be playing for one of the biggest clubs in the world. You're loving the fact that you're going to be leaving Tottenham and you're going to be guaranteed trophies. Now, I know that Bayer Leverkusen are doing very well this season and they're sat top of the league. And obviously, we wait and see if Bayern can do their usual sort of, we're going to like pretend we're going to be losing the title and then we're going to claw it back towards the end of the season like they usually tend to do. Fingers crossed, Xabi Alonso and Bayer Leverkusen actually win it this year, but obviously that remains to be seen. But even if they don't win it this year, we know that next year they're probably going to win it. We know that the year after they're probably going to win it. So if you're Eric Dier, you cannot believe your luck that you're going to be leaving Spurs and going to a club that is guaranteed trophies, whether it be for the immediate future or for the slightly longer term future of a year or two. You cannot believe you're going to be playing Champions League football this season. You cannot believe your luck that you're going to be in one of the best teams in European football right now. You cannot believe your luck if you're Eric Dier. You can't believe your luck if you're Tottenham. You actually got rid of a player. We talk about some players that can't be shifted from their clubs, and yet Tottenham have just shifted the biggest dead wood of them all in Eric Dier. The only thing I can think of, if you're Bayern Munich, as to why you have decided to sign Eric Dier, this is the only reason I can come up with. He is very close friends with Harry Kane. That's it. That is it. That's the only reason I can think of if you're Bayern Munich as to why you would sign this guy, is if he is very close friends with Harry Kane, and Thomas Tuchel's gone up to Harry Kane and gone, how can we please you? How can we help you? How can we help you even more feel like you're at home here? And he's gone, get me my best mate, Eric Dier. That is the only reason I can think of. That is the only reason I can think of. Because I know that Bayern Munich have obviously made some massive signings this summer. We just talked about Harry Kane. He obviously signed for big money this past summer. They obviously signed Kim Min-jae for big money as well. They've obviously spent a lot this past summer. But are you telling me that in a world where there is tons of money to be spent, tons of money being thrown around, and you are Bayern Munich of all teams, one of the biggest teams in European football, you cannot attract anybody better to your football club than Eric Dier? Eric Dier. As Lucky here states, Eric Diabolical. Are we living in some sort of Black Mirror type football universe in which, I mean, the next story after that is bizarre in itself when we're going to be talking about Dragusin choosing Tottenham over Bayern Munich. But what are we experiencing here? What kind of weird test subject? What kind of weird world is this? Eric Dier. I don't get it. I don't get it. Even probably Eric Dier's agent was probably thinking this is a wind-up when he was hearing that Bayern were interested. I don't rate the guy. I don't rate the guy for Tottenham. I certainly don't rate the guy for Bayern Munich. Look, he can go in. He can do a job for them. Maybe be water carrier or something, or maybe he's very good at cheerleading. I don't know. I'm very confused. I'm very, very confused by this story. I'm very, very, very confused by the entirety of this. It's very strange to me. It's very, very strange. I'd love to know what you guys think. I'd love to know what you guys think on this story, because I, for one, am baffled. That if this was a loan signing, I probably wouldn't have given it much thought. If this was a loan signing, I'd be like, okay, Bayern obviously spent a lot of money in the summer. They've obviously got their eye on somebody for the more permanent and long-term future. In the next transfer window in the summer at the end of the season. This is just a stopgap signing. They tried to pick up someone on the cheap. It had to be a loan deal. They got Eric Dier because he's not being played at Spurs, and Spurs want to get rid of him because he doesn't fit Ange Postecoglou's style of play. I could understand if it was a loan, but this is a permanent signing. This is a permanent deal. Somebody explain this to me, please. He's experienced, I guess. Yeah, he's definitely old enough. Yeah, that's it. Because people will say like, "Oh, he's versatile." Yeah, he's never really nailed down a position, in my opinion, because he came in at Tottenham. He was a defensive midfielder. He was then a central midfielder. He was then a right back for a bit. He was then played at left back, I think, for a little bit. And then he played as centre back for a bit. Like, he's never really nailed down a position. And because he's never really found a position that he was truly good enough in. Centre back, he seems to be better than the other positions. But the bar wasn't exactly raised that highly. So I guess he just sort of fit in there as a sort of makeshift defender, and they just got whatever they could out of him, I guess. I'm very, very confused by this permanent signing, and I'm very confused that of all teams to do it, it is Bayern Munich who are signing him on a permanent transfer. Not a loan deal, a permanent one. Sorry, is this microphone on? A permanent one! I don't get it. I don't get it. I can see Eric Dier own goal in the Champions League. You know what would be class, though? Eric Dier scoring the winner to knock Arsenal out of the Champions League. Let's say that Arsenal and Bayern Munich get through their next round of the competition in the Champions League, which, you know, both teams are likely to do. They draw each other in the quarterfinals. 90th minute in the second leg, Bayern get a corner. The game is going into extra time as things stand. Corner goes in. Eric Dier rises high above everybody, heads the ball home, knocks Arsenal out the cup. He'd be a Tottenham legend forever. He'd be a Tottenham legend forever. Eric Dier. Jesus Christ. That would be hilarious if he was the one to knock Arsenal out. That would be funny. I'd stick a few quid on that if I was a betting man. If obviously Bayern do get Arsenal. Jesus Christ. I love football, and especially when it throws up mad things like this. Like, his agent deserves... He's got probably the best agent. He's probably got Choupo-Moting's agent. He's probably got Choupo-Moting's agent. A guy who failed at Stoke and then went to PSG and Bayern, coincidentally, and then is now being linked with Manchester United. This guy has got an incredibly decorated CV of clubs, and yet he's not that good. Tuchel might get sacked or something. I think signing Eric Dier probably is a sackable offence, yes. I'll agree with you on that one. I think it is a pretty sackable offence. I just don't get it. I don't get it. And it might tie in to the next story, which is Dragusin, highly rated, highly sought of defender, a centre-back that plays for Genoa. He's on the verge of completing his move to Spurs. He allegedly chose Tottenham over Bayern. Both teams held talks. Both teams put in proposals. And allegedly, he has chosen Tottenham over Bayern. What world are we living in? What world are we living in where you choose Tottenham over Bayern? Harry Kane chose Bayern over Spurs. He wanted to go to Bayern over staying at Spurs because he wanted to guarantee him trophies. What world are we living in? Now, don't get me wrong. The Ange Postecoglou deal and gamble so far has worked out seemingly. Ange is doing very, very well at Spurs and deserves credit and deserves respect for what he's doing. It's not all there yet. Of course it wasn't. Rome wasn't going to be built in a day, or in this case, Melbourne. Melbourne wasn't going to be built in a day. But for a young defender that already, his agent has already come out and claimed that in a few years' time he wants to be playing for Barcelona and Real Madrid. So it doesn't seem like it's going to be a permanent stay of a lifetime stay. It looks like it's going to be a just a quick stop off at Spurs, build your reputation up a little bit more, build your experience up a little bit more in a big league like the Premier League, and then go away to try and test your luck in Spain. This guy has decided to choose Tottenham over Bayern Munich. And again, I go back to my original point. I really hope that Xabi Alonso does win the Bundesliga with Bayer Leverkusen this season. It would be nice to see someone different sit on top of the German football league for a time being. But we know that within a year or two's time, Bayern will be reclaiming that top spot. We know that Bayer Leverkusen squad will probably be ripped apart by some of the best teams around Europe. And we know that Xabi Alonso will be headhunted by probably like a Real Madrid or another big team because of how well he's doing. We know that that's probably going to be a possibility, which means Bayern just have to bide their time, and within a year or two, they'll be back on top of their perch yet again in the German league. And yet this guy, who, I'm not going to lie to you, I don't really watch a lot of Serie A, but from the little bits that I've researched and what I've heard from people, solid defender, consistent enough, seems to be hard as nails, tough, good tackler, good defensive awareness, good positioning, still a little rough around the edges at times, but very quick, very positionally aware, and very intelligent, has chosen Spurs, a team that is still a gamble under Ange Postecoglou. Like, we've seen many a manager come in and within the first season do pretty well and then fall off a cliff. We were just talking about one. Not 20 minutes ago or whatever, in Erik ten Hag. So we have seen it done. I'm just baffled by this. I'm sort of baffled by this weird Black Mirror type universe we're seemingly living in right now. And I would love some explanation as to what these players are thinking of. You've got Eric Dier going to Bayern Munich, and you've got Dragusin, a highly rated, highly sought of defender, choosing Tottenham over Bayern. I think again, if you're Tottenham, you're sat there right now, you're loving life. You are absolutely loving life. You just got rid of a horrible, poor defender, and you've brought in one of the most highly rated defenders currently on the market, a top talent. You're loving life with your Spurs right now. Whatever Ange is doing, whatever Ange is cooking, just embrace it. Embrace it. Embrace what Ange is doing right now, because this is absolutely incredible. And what makes it even weirder for Spurs is the fact that you're getting your business done early. I'm used to making these types of videos on Spurs where they're leaving their business till the last week or so, or the last day of the transfer window. I'm used to seeing Spurs rushing around, trying to make panic deals left, right, and centre. They've already gone and made big business. They've already gone and done some big business, and the only business, should I say, of the top 6 teams. The only business, apart from obviously United with outgoings, but in terms of incomings, Tottenham are the only ones doing business right now. They've already signed Timo Werner on loan. I gave a video about him last week. I basically said that it's a gamble, but at the same time, it is a loan deal. So it's not that big of a gamble. There's a loan option in there, which gives Spurs leverage. I see what he brings to the table. I see why Ange might like him. I see why he might be a decent fit for Spurs. And I also see why the loan deal had to happen, to beef up the squad and to obviously be a cheap alternative, to obviously focus on an area of play that needed to be beefed up more for the long-term future, which is, of course, that defensive area. If they use the funds that they have left on the defense, which they are seemingly doing in Dragusin, they can obviously afford to put in a stopgap in terms of Timo Werner. And should obviously Werner decide to turn up, should Werner decide to turn back into the Timo Werner that we saw at RB Leipzig the first time around, Spurs have got one hell of a player on their hands that they accidentally signed and that they accidentally got a very good deal for. I can't fault Spurs for that entirety. And if that is the thought process, that they had to prioritize defense over attack, but also bring in an attacker for the month that Son's going to be out for whilst he's on international duty, and maybe for the amount of injuries that Spurs have obviously picked up throughout the season so far, I cannot fault Spurs' logic there. But again, the weird situation in play is that Spurs don't normally think ahead like that. Spurs don't normally think like that. And yet here we are talking about Spurs being smart. Daniel Levy making smart decisions. What has Ange Postecoglou done at Spurs? I am so confused. And it's so weird, and I'm losing my mind. I might as well retitle this that I lose my absolute mind in this, because I've got no idea what the hell's going on. Am I reading too much into this? Or am I... the crazy part is I might not actually be reading enough into it, but am I reading too much into this? What do you guys make of Dragusin? Do you think Dragusin is that good? Like I say, I don't watch Serie A religiously, so I can't really say for sure how good he is. The only thing that I do know about him is from the little bits that I've seen, particularly when like Genoa play like a Inter Milan or something, like a big game like that. I sometimes will stick it on for a few minutes here and there. But I don't really know a great deal about him. All I've done and seen is, like I say, all I've done and seen are the things that I've heard other people say, and obviously done a bit of research in. So they're the only things that I really, really know about this guy. I'm not going to sit here and lie and say that I've seen this guy religiously, because I haven't. But at the same time, I do know that obviously he has been attracting a lot of interest. I do know that he is a highly respected footballer with a lot of potential behind him. And I know that obviously certain things in regards to what he brings to the squad overall, in terms of his positional and defensive awareness, in terms of obviously his ability both on and off the ball. And of course, how tough he is in a challenge, how much he likes a challenge. So I'm very intrigued by this signing, and I'm very intrigued as to know the reasons as to why he chose Spurs over Bayern Munich. But I'm very confused by Spurs' logic to all this, and I'm very confused by Bayern's logic to all this, and I'm very confused by Dragusin's logic to all this. There's so much weird logic that's being thrown around here that I'm so confused over. So if someone can please send me some medication or get me out of this weird simulation, that'd be great, because I'm living in a world where Spurs are actually doing smart business and actually thinking much more forward than what they used to. And I'm living in a world where someone's choosing Spurs over pretty much guaranteed trophies. Nothing's ever a guarantee in football, but Bayern is as much of a guarantee as what you're going to probably get outside of PSG winning the French league. So as much of a guarantee as what you're probably going to get. Overall, I'm just confused this stream. I'm very, very much confused by it all. Very much confused by Spurs. Very much confused by Dragusin. Very much confused by Bayern. It's all very confusing and weird. Let's move on. Let's finish up on some Liverpool talk. Fabio Carvalho. Gone to Hull City. Didn't see this one. When he came back, I thought he would go to like a Premier League side, and then Wolves were interested, and I thought predictable, Premier League team. Carvalho will probably go to a lower level Premier League team. He'll flourish. He'll get some good minutes, and he'll get into a good competitive team, as well as obviously being a competitive league. Then he goes down to the Championship. Now, fingers crossed that he absolutely blitzes the Championship. But we've already seen what he can do in the Championship, because obviously we saw him at Fulham a couple of years ago, and that was one of the major reasons why we bought the guy. I'm a bit confused with how we're handling this. We obviously thought Leipzig would handle him better. He hasn't been handled well at Leipzig at all, which is obviously why he's been recalled. I then thought that maybe with the amount of injuries we're picking up, maybe we would try and bring him into the fold, just to see if obviously some cover needed to take place as the season wears on. We've obviously lost Szoboszlai for a few weeks. Obviously, Trent's injured. I thought with maybe the injuries starting to pile up just a little bit, that maybe there was a place, and obviously with Salah being out for the best part of the next month or so on international duty, I did think that there may be a bit of a gap there. Maybe Carvalho could fill with his return from Leipzig. But it doesn't seem to be the case. He seems to be obviously going off to the Championship with Hull. Again, very intrigued to get your thoughts on this particular story. Is there a future for Fabio Carvalho at Liverpool? Or is this what we're going to be doing now? Just passing him around to a few clubs on loan, and then we'll ultimately get rid of him in a couple of years' time once we get a few good loan fees for the guy. I'm not going to take too much of what the clubs say, and that he's going to be a very valuable or integral part of Liverpool's future, because they say that about a lot of players just to obviously keep them happy and keep the value. But I like the guy, and I don't really think he put much of a foot wrong last season. I think it was a very difficult season for all, but I think in the games and parts that he did play, I think he did pretty well, considering that he's still very young, and obviously that was his first season in the Premier League, and that was his first season at Liverpool. I don't really think he put a foot wrong, really. So I'm very intrigued to know what about this Fabio Carvalho story, what the future holds for him, and obviously what you think Liverpool's plan maybe is for him going forward. Like I say, in regards to him, I would have said go to a lower Premier League side. A Wolves, for me, would have been perfect. And when I heard that they were interested in signing him, I thought it was a bit of a no-brainer. Or maybe even a return to Fulham. I thought, again, that could be a bit of a no-brainer for the guy. But it wasn't to obviously be the case. And then we're left with this situation, in which I'm, again, very intrigued by, very interested by, and very intrigued by the way that obviously we're handling this situation, and whether or not it's actually going to be true or not, as to whether or not Carvalho is going to be that guy to take Liverpool forward or not remains to be seen. And I'm very, very intrigued by the journey that Carvalho's on. Levy is changing his ways. Maybe. Obviously, it's hard to say what will happen, and it's basically going to be about whether or not he can continue on this same vein of form. I wouldn't say any of the signings that Spurs have made under Postecoglou have been exciting immediately right off the bat. I would say they've probably been easy signings in terms of obviously to make. I don't think anyone was expecting the likes of Vicario, for example, to come as good as what he has been, but he's been outstanding this season for Spurs. Maddison wasn't exactly a difficult signing, seeing as though everybody cleared the way for Spurs to obviously make that signing, and I think it was obviously a big mistake and a big error on most teams' part to let that be the case. But again, it wasn't like they needed to do some extensive research into this guy. They just obviously saw him on what he was able to do at Leicester. Van de Ven, I give him credit for that one. But again, it seems as though a lot of teams may have dropped the ball on that one. I was really hoping at the time that Liverpool would have actually gone in for him. I think that he would have done very, very good for the Reds in that sense. But again, they seem to drop the ball on that one. So we'll see. But again, it's not just about the business that you do. It's about the foresight. And the foresight, obviously, from Spurs this month seems to be, let's focus on the defensive side of things. Let's prioritize fixing that up for the here and now, as well as for the long-term future. That's where Dragusin comes in. And then, of course, we can bring in some firepower in the form of a Timo Werner, who is not very well liked at Leipzig right now, hence why he's not playing that many games, hence why he's not got that many minutes. Got Premier League experience. obviously was very inconsistent at Spurs, but probably has the right attributes and the right sort of traits and skill set that maybe he could fit into this Postecoglou system in a way that we could disguise maybe his shortcomings into this team. Look at the way that Richarlison's scoring goals right now. I don't rate Richarlison in the slightest, but the typical Richarlison goal is cutting the ball back and him running across the near post to finish it. Timo Werner gets into those positions all the time. Now, 50% of the time he's offside. The other 50% of the time, he's in those types of positions. It's what he does in those positions that's going to be crucial. If he comes out of this with near enough close to maybe double figures for the season in terms of goals in all competitions, or maybe even double figures in terms of goals and assists, it's a stroke of genius from Tottenham. It's a stroke of genius from Spurs. And if they get Champions League football, even sweeter. But it's a low risk, low level signing that obviously sets the priority for the defense, for the defense to obviously get better for the long term. And then for the short term, they've got a bit of a stopgap. They've got someone who can take the place of Son, who's got pace, who's got power, who's got strength, to fill in that gap, whether it be up front or whether it be from a left wing position. Werner can fill in those positions. Not exactly the most creative, but he's got speed that will terrify any defense in the league. And if teams are playing high line against Tottenham, he will exploit that. It's what he does in the final third. That's going to be where the gamble comes in, because Werner can either be really good, exceptionally good, or he can be really terrible, and he can be clumsy and calamitous and spectacularly awful. But that's the kind of risk, and that's the kind of excitement, I guess you could say, that you get from a Timo Werner type character. You never quite know what you're going to get from him, good or bad. So strap yourselves in, Tottenham fans. You're in for an interesting one with Werner. But as far as the defense goes, look, you're going to get Van de Ven back to full fitness very soon. Romero will be back very soon. Obviously, adding Dragusin to the back line as well. Dier's now gone. Emerson Royale will no longer be at centre-back. Fingers crossed for you all lot, of course. Udogie's been great this season. Pedro Porro as well has actually been pretty consistent and solid throughout most of this season. Things are looking up for Spurs. Things are really looking up for Spurs. You've got to keep it on that upwards trajectory. You can't let the performance levels drop. And the obvious hope is that those performance levels do not drop. And as we've seen time and time again, certain teams and certain players go through seasons where they're just unbelievable, and then they can't follow that up the next season by hitting those same sort of standards or the same bar that was set before them. We'll see how it goes. We'll see how those sort of performance levels go and everything. But yeah, it's very interesting on Spurs, isn't it? Very interesting on Spurs. Very interesting on Liverpool and Fabio Carvalho. Very interesting on Manchester United as well. And I'd love to get all of your thoughts, comments, opinions, predictions, feelings, whatever you want to call it, on those particular subjects and topics and everything else in the comment section, wherever that may be. Would love to hear from you all on those particular stories. Yeah, very, very intriguing stuff. Very intriguing stuff. Just gonna check to see if anything is broken in the time. No, not really. But like I say, the transfer window's heating up, so there might be a few more names out there that maybe you're interested in knowing, or maybe there could be some movement in the coming days. It's going to be very interesting as the transfer market, transfer window continues, and obviously as we head down to deadline day, whether or not there are going to be some big movers in this transfer window. Like I say, Tottenham have started out the blocks pretty early. Manchester United have shifted a couple of players. They got rid of a couple on loan. It's going to be interesting to see, because I think all teams need to do some business, and especially the teams at the top as well, especially because I'm looking at it through the lens of a Liverpool fan who is obviously seeing my team with an exceptionally good opportunity here to take that Premier League title by the scruff of the neck and make it ours again. And I'm looking at it and I'm saying, why not go for it? Why not lay the money down on the table for a right back or a centre back or maybe even a defensive midfielder and just properly go for it and just increase our chances even more of cup glory, which I think we will have at the end of the season. I maintain that stance throughout the season that I think we will get some sort of cup this year. Carabao Cup, we're almost into the final, so we've got an exceptionally good chance of winning that. Europa League, certainly a good opportunity there. FA Cup, after beating Arsenal, I'd say our chances have increased somewhat, but only if we take it seriously enough. And the Premier League, look, I've always maintained, and I still say to this day that City are still the favourites, but that's just my personal opinion on that. That could obviously change as we head closer towards the running of the season. I'm very intrigued with Liverpool, but I constantly say that if we want to secure it, if we want to increase our chances, we need to go and make a signing. A forward as well, as Lucky says here. He says we need a backup centre-back that we can also play as a fullback along with a forward. And I agree. I think Gomez has been a revelation this season. I think he's been solid at left-back in the absence of both Tsimikas and Robertson. And hopefully Robertson will be back soon. Gomez then may have to go back to right back, depending on how long Trent's injury is, and obviously with Conor Bradley being young. But I liked Conor Bradley yesterday, and I think that obviously I'm interested to see how he does for the remainder of the season. But, you know, if we went and signed like a Joshua Kimmich would be the perfect signing, in my opinion. Joshua Kimmich would be incredible. Incredible. It would also be something that would happen only on like Football Manager or that FIFA game that I've mentioned more times than I've ever mentioned before on the stream. But that would be the perfect signing in my opinion, but it's very unlikely to happen. Or maybe even a Benjamin Pavard. A Benjamin Pavard might be a decent signing again. Someone who can play centre-back, someone who can play full-back, as you mentioned. Maybe a more clinical forward. I don't know. I don't know. I still think the Liverpool attack could just click into gear at any point. I still feel like there is something to it. Maybe it's a bit of delusion. Maybe it's more hope than anything else. But I still feel like this attack could just click into gear at any moment. How does Núñez have 10 assists in all comps? He's weird, isn't he? And as you're going on to say here, yes, Núñez is weird. Bro misses easy chances and somehow goalkeeper pull out worldwide saves against him. Mate, how he did not score yesterday, I don't know. But he played exceptionally well yesterday. He was incredible yesterday. Everything that he did yesterday, he was brilliant. Quick feet, quick passing, stretching the defense, running left, running right, running then down the middle. Constantly available, quick feet to get away from defenders, pulling the ball back, setting up good opportunities, creating good moments, and obviously setting up 2 goals. He was brilliant yesterday, and I really hope that we see more of that from Darwin Núñez. But yeah, I know goalkeepers just seem to really dislike him to the point where they're willing to do anything and everything they can to deny him from scoring. He was on the pitch for, what was it, about 35 minutes yesterday. He had 3 or 4 golden opportunities to score, in which I'm not going to blame him for. I'm not going to blame him for missing, because I don't think he could have done any better with any of those chances. There was the header, there was the strike at goal, which was from Leno's near post. There was the strike at goal from an acute angle, which Leno parried away. And then there was the one that obviously Conor Bradley played the ball for across goal for, in which, again, I just don't think that guy could have done any better with those opportunities that were presented before him. I just think the goalkeeper was just insane in those moments. And it's extremely lucky for Darwin Núñez because he won't get that recognition unless he is on the score sheet. He did pick up 2 assists yesterday. He does move on to 10 assists in all competitions. I think he is something like 1 goal or assist away from equaling the same amount of goal contributions that he did last season. And we're just only halfway over the halfway through the season, just over halfway through the season. So we've still got plenty of time left to obviously increase those numbers. So in a sense, there is and has been improvement from Darwin Núñez, not just in terms of his overall build-up play and his overall play itself, but in terms of his goal-scoring output as well. And there will be, obviously, fingers crossed, that injury obviously doesn't take him away. But there is obviously a lot more to come from him. And we hope that it finally does click for him, because he does have these games where he's just unlucky. He does have these games where he can't do much better with the chances that he was given, but he's just a little bit unlucky. I'm hoping that sooner or later that unluckiness will eventually fade and will eventually turn into some good luck for him, because he works hard and he puts in the work ethic and he has improved so much in his game. Build-up play, first touch, intelligence of knowing where to run, when to run, how to drag players out of position for his teammates, bit of unselfishness about him at times. There is so much to his play that has improved, but his clinical edge needs to improve. And I agree with you. When he has the harder chances, he can score an absolute worldie. Look what he did against Bournemouth in the Carabao Cup. Look what he did against Newcastle. Look at the goal he scored against Burnley. He has that capability of scoring those great goals. But some of the easy chances, and I'm talking about the ones that he missed against the likes of Luton and the ones that he missed against Manchester United, it frustrates the hell out of me and it frustrates the hell out of a lot of Liverpool fans. But I am still backing him until at least the end of the season, where I hope to see a lot more of it, or much more of an improvement from Darwin Núñez. It's okay not scoring if others around you are, but when they are not, that's when you have to step up. And when you're missing the chances like he did in those games where we did drop points, unforgivable. Absolutely unforgivable. Like I say, last night, I don't think he could have done much better. I think he was awesome in everything that he did. I don't think he could have done much better. I think the goalkeeper was just very, very good, because I think if we're looking at it through the opposite lens, if that is a Fulham attacker last night and Alisson or even Kelleher was in goal, we'd be praising the hell out of our goalkeeper for those saves. So we should also look at it through that lens as well. Jota did well, even without scoring. I thought he did okay. I didn't think it was his best performance. I still find Jota incredibly weird. He seems to be an impact sub. Where he comes on to kill the game off. I thought he did okay. I didn't think it was his best performance. I didn't think it was his worst, but I thought he did all right. 8 goals and 10 assists in all comps halfway through the season. Is that for Jota or for... No, it must be for Núñez. Of course it is. 10 assists. Duh. It's just like we're talking about Jota. I kind of got confused. Yeah, like I say, it's an improvement. It's getting better. And I think like 8 of those assists or 7 of those assists have come to be Mohamed Salah goals. So it is... so he's clearly got a good partnership there. Yeah, it's fine for what it is. I've accepted that he won't be a 30 goals in all comps or a 20 goals in a league striker. You don't really need him to be when you've got someone like Mohamed Salah scoring you 20 to 30 goals in a season. And it's good that he actually does that from being a winger. which again goes a little bit under the radar and a little bit underrated in my opinion. He doesn't need to be, but he does need to be at the very least a 15 to 20 goal a season striker. You know, if he was getting like 19 goals and 15 assists in a season, phenomenal. But Bobby Firmino got those kinds of numbers when he was at his peak. Maybe not so much 19 goals, but you know what I mean. Bobby Firmino, we all praised for being a different type of striker and for being the gel that held that front three together. The gel that ultimately sat back and allowed Mane and Salah to do all of the damage whilst he pulled the strings. Núñez is obviously is very different to Bobby Firmino. And obviously Klopp has decided to go a different direction with the successor to Bobby Firmino. And that's why we have got a Jota. That's why we have got a Cody Gakpo. That's why we have got a Darwin Núñez. We've got options now. We've got 3 different strikers. Before, we didn't really have that many different strikers. Behind Firmino, we had Divock Origi. Now, don't get me wrong, he's a cult hero. Scored some great goals, important goals, goals that I will remember for and take to my grave. But he's not on the same level as Firmino. He's not on the same level as any of the front three that we have right now. But what we have right now is 3 very different strikers with very different tools, with very different skill sets. We've got Jota, who is an ice-cold finisher. We've got Darwin Núñez, who is a constant thorn in the side of opposition. He may not be clinical, but he will create chances for himself. It will create chances for his teammates. And sooner or later, we'll take those chances. And we've got Cody Gakpo, who his work rate is phenomenal. And he can pull out to the wing and he can drop deep and act as another midfielder. Good creativity, good pace, good power, good strength. We've got 3 very different options that we can play through the middle. And I like what we've got right now. And they don't need to be 20 goals a season strikers or 30 goal a season strikers. They need to be, at the very least, 15 goal a season strikers. The one player that I'm looking for more from is Luis Diaz. If Luis Diaz is going to be our left winger going forward, I'm looking for more output from him. Now, we've started to see it a few times. He's actually raised some good performances. And I know that obviously since arriving at Liverpool, he had a very good start. And I know that obviously he's had a lot going on in his personal life. And he's had a couple of injuries to deal with as well that have hindered his career as well. I understand that. But now that everything is seemingly cleared, now that his injuries have cleared up, now that obviously his personal issues have been dealt with, we need to see more from Luis Diaz. And I'm hoping that maybe with the return of Andy Robertson, maybe with Jota, maybe a better understanding with a Jota or a Gakpo or even a Núñez himself, maybe there can be more for Diaz to get out of this squad. Maybe there can be more for him to get from maybe there can be more to get from that guy. Like I say, I'm hoping there's more to come from him. I'm hoping that there is more to come from all of them. Even Salah. I'm hoping that even Salah can continue to get better, if that's even possible as far as what Salah is concerned, considering his age and considering what he's already managed to achieve at the club. I'm just... Sorry, got a message. I'm just not 100% convinced by our front three right now, but that isn't to say I don't have faith or belief in them. I just want to see more from Diaz. I want to see more from Gakpo. And I want to see more from a Liverpool team that shouldn't really be constantly relying on Klopp to change things for them. Klopp constantly seems to be changing things right now off the bench. And it seems all of our strikers seem to do better when they come off the bench to assert themselves in a game. And I think that is good management from Klopp. And I think it is good awareness and good intelligence from the players themselves. But again, I'm very intrigued to for the understanding and the psychology and everything else of that nature. But I just want to see them input more. Diaz is doing all right. Gakpo is popping them with goals. Nunez is assisting, and Jota will poach a goal somewhere. You're 100% right. Like I say, I agree. I agree with you. Like Gakpo gets a few goals. He's been very good, especially in the Carabao Cup this season. He's a big part as to why we've got as far as what we have right now. Diaz is doing okay. He's done better in recent games than he has done in the entirety of the season. He's been a bit unlucky as well in certain games. You know, he should have that goal against Spurs, for example, and one or two other goals he's been ruled off for offside for, or a player in the build-up's been ruled off for offside for. So he's been a bit unlucky in a little bit of in some cases to have not got more goal contributions than what he has. But Nunez is assisting. Again, how much you can read really into assists, especially when they're like a little layoff or whatever. Yeah, it is what it is. But at the same time, he still managed just to record them. And that's probably what a lot of people are going to be looking at the end of the day. It doesn't matter about what type of assist it was, as long as he gets the goal contributions. And obviously, he came on with 35 minutes to go last night and completely changed the game. Jota will poach a goal every now and again. You are 100% right again. Like I say, he's probably our most clinical finisher. And I do include Salah in that. He's probably our most clinical, ice-cold finisher. And he will get those types of goals. And I'm sure he's going to get some important goals to come as the season wears on, because that's just the type of player that Diogo Jota is. I don't really watch Getafe, so I can't really say. My main areas of focus are mainly Premier League. I can talk to you all day about the Premier League. I look a little bit at the Bundesliga, especially this season with Bayer Leverkusen, because I'm very much interested in Xabi Alonso and the potential of Bayer Leverkusen lifting the Bundesliga trophy at the end of the season. So I watch a little bit of that, as well as a bit of Dortmund, a bit of Bayern from time to time, and a little bit of Championship as well. There's not enough hours a day to consume all football. I'll occasionally watch a Barcelona game, or I'll occasionally watch a Real Madrid game. I'll watch them in the Champions League especially, but La Liga just doesn't interest me anymore. So I don't know who that particular player is, and I don't really watch Getafe, I'm afraid. So sorry, I can't be much more help to you. But if he's a guy that I should be paying more attention to, then feel free to kind of let me know, and maybe I'll keep an eye out. Nothing I would love more to steal than that striker away from Arsenal. Which striker? Which striker? Because Arsenal strikers are quite poor right now. If Arsenal had a clinical enough striker, like they could have run away with this league, but they don't. That's the be all and end all. So I'm very surprised that they're not doing some business in this transfer window as well. Again, we talk about Liverpool maybe having a golden opportunity to win some silverware this season if they buy players. I get it now. Sorry, I get it. Arsenal are looking into him, are they? Again, I don't know much about him, so I would probably say right off the bat, it's probably going to be a bit of a gamble, considering that I know Ivan Toney says he's not going to go, but if you're a big club like Arsenal, act like a big club, lay the money down on the table so that Brentford can't say no, and at least then you open up a dialogue with Ivan Toney to maybe try and get him. Or, again, if you've got the money, lay down the money for Victor Osimhen. I'm just saying, if you're acting like a big club or you want to act like a big club, go in there and get it done. Go in there and get it done. Arsenal need to do some business this transfer window, and the main part has to be a striker. You can always look at midfield as well as needing to be improved upon, but we all know Eddie Nketiah is not good enough, and Gabriel Jesus hasn't quite worked out to the lethal finishing that we all, well, most of us, myself included, thought that it might do. There you go. There you go. That would be my advice to Arsenal. Go in there, act like a big club, lay the money down on the table, and then it's up to the player. I know Ivan Toney said the other day that he wants to stay at Brentford because he wants to repay the club for backing him during this whole thing. If that is the case, if that is genuinely the case, then fair play to him. Fair play to him, and it's very admirable. But at the same time, are you telling me that a guy in his position who's missed several months of football, 27 years of age, isn't going to be tempted by a club like Arsenal, who are looking to challenge for the Premier League? They're in the Champions League, and they're in this big project done by Mikel Arteta right now. I'm just saying that I'm very interested and intrigued by that Ivan Toney situation and by Arsenal's situation, because, like I say, they should act like a big club and just lay the money down on the table. If they've got it, lay the money down on the table. Give the team that you want to buy the striker from what they want. Napoli, there you go. There's the money. I want Victor Osimhen. Brentford, there's the money. I want Ivan Toney. I don't know about this guy that you're saying in the chat, so I can't really say whether he's I can't really say whether he's good or not. I can't really say whether he is sorry, my leg is really itching. I can't really say whether or not he is the right fit for Arsenal. I can't really say whether or not he's a perfect match for Arsenal. Match made in heaven, going to be the guy to get them the goals that they need to kill games off or to ultimately win those tight games that Arsenal have been involved in recent weeks. But all I know is that Arsenal need to do some business in this window. That's all I know on that one. So yeah, it's been a decent stream. An hour and 20 minutes have gone. We talked Manchester United. We've talked Anthony Martial. We talked Jadon Sancho going back to Borussia Dortmund. We talked this mad universe that's developing where players are choosing Spurs over Bayern Munich in Dragusin. We talked Eric Dier going to Bayern Munich, and something weird is developing at the Allianz Arena. They're smoking something weird over there when it comes to signing Eric Dier. Don't know what that's all about. We talked a little bit about Fabio Carvalho. Talked a bit about Fabio Carvalho going to Wolves. We've talked a bit about Liverpool and Arsenal and other teams that may need to do a bit of business. But I've got to wrap it up there, guys. Thank you all so much for watching and listening, for me rambling on for an hour and 20 minutes. This was good. I like doing these kinds of things, and I like that you all got involved as well. Thank you to each and every single one of you got involved. Lucky, especially, who seemingly stayed right to the very end. Thanks very much, mate. Thanks for stopping by. You made it a great stream, as did everybody else that contributed as well. So thank you to all who contributed. Thank you, everyone. If you haven't already, like the video, subscribe if you're new. Both things are always incredibly greatly appreciated. Leave your comments in this video for things that you want to talk about in future videos or live streams or whatever it may be. Great stream. Number 20 is coming home onto the red side of Merseyside. Mate, I hope you are 100% right on that. I would love it if that is to be the case. I still think Manchester City are still the favourites, and I still think Manchester City still have a few aces up their sleeve in terms of this title race. But I really do hope you are right. And I know that Liverpool will get some silverware at the end of the season. I'm sure of it, whether it be the Carabao Cup or the Europa League, should I say. I'm pretty sure those two are going to be coming home to Liverpool as well. Whether the FA Cup does or not remains on what kind of draw we get, I guess. And then, of course, the Premier League title, I think, is going to be between us and Manchester City. I'm starting to come around to that idea of that. So I really do hope you're right in terms of Liverpool getting their 20th Premier League title, or 20th top tier title, should I say, for those United fans that are still like, you've only won one Premier League title. Like, yeah, well, shut up. Carvalho might have an attitude issue. Maybe there is an underlying issue behind the scenes that we're not fully aware of, and that will only come out after he's completely gone from the club. You could be right there, but only time will tell. Liverpool are very good at keeping their cards close to their chest in these kinds of matters and situations. So we'll obviously have to wait and see on this one, but you could be right. There could be some sort of underlying issue there that we're not fully aware of. But for now, that just remains speculation. Like I say, thank you all, everyone, for watching and listening. I've got to go, got to bounce, got to go and do some stuff, some things and some stuff and some adult things and adult stuff, which is boring when I want to talk about football. But I've got to go. Thanks, everyone, for watching, contributing. Very much appreciated. Subscribe to anyone that obviously is in the comments, because they're all great people, or solid and great people. Thanks, everyone, for watching. These have, of course, been the thoughts, comments, opinions, predictions, feelings, whatever you call it. This guy, obviously, leave your thoughts, your comments, your opinions, your predictions, your feelings, your everything down in whatever comment section it is, to talk about for future videos, or to comment on anything that I talked about in this video. It'll all be very much greatly appreciated. Like I said, hit the like button if you haven't already. Subscribe if you're new or want to see more content like this. Both things are always and forever greatly appreciated. And as always, thank you all so much for watching and listening. I've been Fletch. This has been another Fletch Talks video, or all new news live stream. One of them videos, one of them types of videos or live streams. It's been a long one. It's been a bit of a ramble. It's been a bit of weird. It's been a bit all over the place. I'm kind of out of practice with these kinds of live streams. I'm rambling now. I should just end it. I will see and speak to you all again soon in another video or live stream or whatever it may be. Cheers, guys. Thanks, everyone, for watching, participating, and getting involved in the comment section. Love you all very much and very much appreciated. Take care, each and every single one of you. Have a good night. Have a good day, wherever you are. And I will see and speak to you all again soon in another video or live stream or whatever it may be. Cheers, guys. See you all again soon.